All art is based on how far you can push the technology. So the more facile, the more fluid the technology, the easier it is to actually do your art. And in this particular case, I looked at it and I said, there's a lot of things that I think can be improved here. Primarily editing, which is the thing I was the most interested in, and special effects, which is the other thing that I was interested in. And it wasn't really until I did Star Wars that we started to deal with some digital technology. It was very early on in the process of making films using computers. And we had to build some special purpose computers for Star Wars. Star Wars, I decided there was possibility here of digital technology to be introduced into the process of making movies. So we started the computer division. We put together a group of guys headed by Ed Catmull. We built a digital editing system, which was the Edit Droid, which we eventually sold to Avid. And it proved that it was much, much easier to cut digitally than it was to cut physically on film. And the same thing with the Sound Droid, which was a digital sound system, a laser printer to bring images in and out of a computer, and Pixar, which was a special purpose graphics computer. And these were primarily to ease the process of editing and doing special effects.
The film business at that time, with the exception of Lucasfilm, did not care at all about high technology. For them, computer graphics was completely irrelevant. Lucasfilm really was the only place at that time willing to take a risk. And George did take the risk.
We did some experiments at ILM to do young Sherlock Holmes, to Willow, and then eventually we built ourselves up to where we could do Jurassic Park. And Jurassic Park was really the breakthrough movie where we actually moved from doing what we used to do with stop motion animation and that sort of thing into doing a realistic character in a computer.
Let me take that back, huh? You'll find what you need.
After Jurassic came out, there was like, this is a big deal. You know, this is going to affect a lot of us. And I totally felt, yes, it will. Come with me, come. Everybody, come in here, learn it. Model shop guys, learn how to model on the computer. Composite guys, learn how to composite on the computer. You know, we're all in this together.
Probably about 5 years before the second trilogy, I said, we're going to do the second trilogy. I want to shoot it digitally, and I want to release it digitally. So we did research and found out who was players and who wanted to be a player, who would help. Texas Instruments was working on a system. Sony was working on a system. We couldn't find anybody who would build a lens for these new Sony cameras. And finally, we were able to get Panavision to help us to build some lenses. But the lenses weren't finished in time for Phantom Menace, but they were finished in time for us to shoot all the second unit and all the reshoots. So the after production shoots were all done digitally, and they're cut into the movie. You can't really tell the difference.
Okay, cut. That's a wrap. Thanks very much.
George saw the benefits of shooting in digital. There was no reason to shoot in film. The digital stuff, the camera can practically run forever. The quality eventually can be better. The takes can be as long as you want. Duplicate it as many times as you want. None of the quality, fall apart or anything. It was just better. And he pushed for it before anybody else because he was funding to film himself. He could do it any way he wanted. And I think he thought that Hollywood would jump to it, right? But just like the experiences that happened within ILM and trying to convert people over, that happened in LA also. I wouldn't say there was much of a resistance to it. There was just not much interest in it.
Episode 1 was the first movie to be projected digitally. And it took an enormous amount of effort on George's part to get the theaters to actually move from analog to digital projection. Attack of the Clones pushed the technology even further, becoming the first movie to be shot entirely in the digital format. We worked for 6 years with Sony and Texas Instruments to set and create a new standard that fit George's vision. He drove the technology, and he wasn't going to let us rest until we achieved it for him.
The digital projection system shows colors that you cannot see with any print stock that was ever made. Golds, teal, you never saw those in film. Purples, you never saw those. You look at a magnificent color palette of Wizard of Oz or Gone with the Wind. The green is like muddy.
One of the benefits of digital theaters is that you can convert to a 3D theater very, very easily. There's a social drag on how fast you can take an idea and turn it into a reality that actually is part of the social system. It takes about 10 years for people to kind of get their head around it, from the point where it's introduced to the point where they accept it. Change is happening more and more rapidly. The advancements in the technology are going every 3 or 4 months, and it's generational, which means the younger generation accepts it infinitely faster than the older generation does. We're at that point in history with cinema, where it's gone from an esoteric world for an elite few to something that anybody can do. We're literally at a point now where anybody can make a movie.